Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that affects all of us, our money, and specifically why that safe place you keep it, the bank, might actually be the riskiest place of all.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question. It might feel a little weird to think about, but it's so important. Is your safe money actually safe? I mean, we all worry about someone stealing our money, right? But what if the biggest threat isn't a person, but something you can't even see?
Okay, to really get what's going on, let me tell you a quick story. Imagine you have a brand new, crisp $100 bill. You put it in this top-of-the-line, perfectly secure safe. You bury it. Nobody's getting to it. It is 100% protected from theft. Sounds pretty safe, right?
Fast forward 10 years. You go dig up that safe, you open it, and there it is. The $100 bill looks exactly the same. Perfect condition. But then, you take it to the grocery store, and that's when you get this horrible shock. That same $100 that used to fill your entire shopping cart, now it barely gets you a handbasket's worth of stuff. The bill itself didn't change, but its power, that completely vanished.
So what on earth happened to your money? Well, to figure that out, we need to pull back the curtain and look at our first suspect in this mystery, the bank. And let me tell you, the way banks actually work is probably not what you think.
Most of us picture a bank like a giant, secure vault, a storage locker for our cash. But that's not really accurate. A better way to think about it is like a reseller. They're in the business of buying and selling money. And when you deposit your cash, guess what? You're not the customer. You're their supplier.
And their business model is actually brilliantly simple. It's basically a three-step process. Step 1, they buy your money from you for cheap. That super low interest rate they pay you, that's the price they're paying. Step 2, they turn right around and sell your money to someone else, like for a car loan or a mortgage, for a much higher price. And step 3, that big gap in the middle, that's pure profit for them.
And there's a fancy term for this. It's called the net interest margin. It's the lifeblood of their entire business. So think about it from their perspective. To make more profit, they have to widen that gap. And the easiest way to do that is to pay their suppliers, that's you, as little as humanly possible. That's why your savings account earns next to nothing. Your interest is literally an expense on their books.
Okay, so the bank paying you practically nothing is bad. That's problem number 1. But honestly, that's just half the battle. That just means you're standing still. Now, we're about to meet the real villain of our story, the invisible force that's actively stealing your money every single day, the silent thief.
Yeah, we've all heard the word inflation a million times, right? And we usually think, oh, that just means stuff gets more expensive. But I want you to completely flip that idea on its head. This is so important. It's not that the price of milk is going up, it's that the value of your dollar is going down.
Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine your dollar is a ruler. Every single year, inflation comes along and shaves a tiny bit off the end. The ruler still says $1 on it, but it's physically shorter. So when you go to measure something, like the cost of a gallon of milk, you suddenly need more of your shrunken rulers to measure the same thing. The milk didn't get bigger. Your tool for measuring it just got smaller.
And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. This is real life. Check out these numbers from the last decade. A gallon of milk, up over 20%. A Netflix plan, up over 70%. But look at ground beef, up almost 60%. All while your money in the bank was earning, what, 0.25%? You're going backwards, and fast.
Or forget groceries for a second. Think about something simple, like your daily coffee. The price of a latte has gone up by nearly $2 in 10 years. So if you had taken that $3.65 and safely tucked it away in a savings account back then, today you couldn't even buy that same cup of coffee. You've literally lost the ability to buy something you used to afford.
Okay, so we've got two bad guys working against you. The bank that pays you almost nothing, and this silent thief, inflation, that's eating away at your money's value. So how do you figure out what's really happening? Well, it all boils down to one incredibly important piece of math. And here it is. This is the formula you need to burn into your brain. The bank will show you the nominal interest rate. That's the big flashy number they put on their website. But that's just marketing. The real interest rate, that's what's left over after you subtract inflation. And that, my friends, is the only number that actually tells you if you're getting richer or poor.
And just look at this. It's just staggering. For a whole decade, from 2010 to 2020, people who did the responsible thing and saved their money were actually losing almost 2% of its value every single year. That's the definition of a financial treadmill. You're running and running, but you're actually slowly sliding backwards.
And if that decade was bad, 2022 was an absolute bloodbath for savers. Inflation shot up to over 9%. If your money was in a typical savings account, you lost a staggering 8% of your purchasing power. In 1 year. It's like putting your money in a safe that's secretly on fire.
So, the big takeaway here is this. We need to change how we think about cash. Cash is fantastic for one thing, paying for stuff right now. It's a tool for transactions, but it is a terrible tool for building wealth over the long term. Its job is to be available, not to grow.
All right, enough doom and gloom. I know this sounds depressing, but the whole reason we're talking about this trap is so you can learn how to get out of it. So let's talk solutions. How do you actually break the cycle? How do you get off this treadmill?
Okay, the very first step, the easiest thing you can do today is to stop subsidizing the fancy marble floors and giant buildings of traditional banks. You know, these online-only high-yield savings accounts, they don't have all that overhead, so they can afford to pay you way, way more. We're talking rates like 4.5% instead of 0.01%. Now, it might not completely beat inflation, but at least you're in the fight instead of just getting knocked out in the first round.
And then, for your money that you don't need right away, your long-term savings, the game changes. You have to own things that actually grow. You need to own assets. That could be things like Series I savings bonds, which are literally designed to keep pace with inflation. Or it could be owning a piece of the biggest companies in the world through the stock market, or even real estate. These are things that have a history of not just surviving inflation, but beating it. But really, all of this comes down to one big mental shift. We've been taught that safety means the number in your bank account doesn't go down. That's the old definition. The new definition of safety, the real one, is making sure you can buy the same amount of stuff in the future. It's about protecting your purchasing power, not just protecting your dollars.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Think of your savings account not as an investment, but as a parking garage for your money. It's great for short-term stays, but you wouldn't leave your car in a paid garage for 10 years, right? The fees would be insane. Well, when you leave your money parked in a savings account for too long, inflation is the parking fee, and it's eating you alive. So you have to ask yourself, is your money just parked, or is it out there working just as hard for you as you did for it?